You're not tired. You're weak. Not physically, mentally. You wake up every day with plans in your head and excuses in your hands. You say you want more money, more respect, more control, but your actions are screaming the opposite. You scroll, you delay, you negotiate with comfort like it's your best friend. And the truth you keep running from, nobody respects a person who can't control themselves. Right now, somewhere out there, someone with less talent than you, less intelligence than you, is building a life you keep fantasizing about. Why? Because they don't think like you. They don't wait to feel motivated. They don't need the perfect mood. They don't ask for permission. They move and you don't. That gap, that invisible distance between where you are and where you could be. That's not luck, that's identity. You're still thinking like a low value person, and until that changes, nothing changes. Not your income, not your body, not your confidence, not your status. You don't have a motivation problem, you have an identity problem. And today, that version of you, the comfortable, distracted, excuse making version, it dies because high value people don't become powerful by accident. They think differently. They see the world differently. They respond to pressure differently. They walk into a room and without saying a word, people feel it. Not because they're louder, but because they're solid, grounded, controlled, dangerous in discipline. And you've trained your brain to chase ease every time you hit snooze, every time you avoid discomfort, every time you choose entertainment over execution. You're reinforcing weakness. Neuroscience doesn't care about your intentions. Your brain wires itself based on what you repeat. And right now, you've built a mind that escapes instead of dominates, that hesitates instead of executes, that doubts instead of decides. You didn't end up here by accident. You trained for this. But here's the part most people never realize. If you trained yourself into weakness, you can train yourself into power, but it's going to cost you not money, not time, your comfort, your identity, the version of you that feels safe being average. Because high value thinking is not positive thinking. It's not affirmations. It's not pretending everything is fine. It's ruthless self honesty. It's looking at your life and saying, this is not good enough. No excuses, no emotional cushioning, no blaming your past, your environment, your circumstances. Because high value people don't care where they started. They care where they're going and what they're willing to do to get there. And this is where the shift begins, right here, with one uncomfortable realization. Your feelings are unreliable. You've been making decisions based on how you feel, and your feelings have been sabotaging your future. You don't feel like working. You don't feel like focusing. You don't feel like pushing, so you don't. And every time you obey that feeling, you weaken your authority over your own mind. High value people don't negotiate with feelings, they override them. Because discipline is not an emotion, it's a command. And if you can't command yourself, you will always be controlled by something else, by distractions, by other people's opinions, by comfort, by fear. And fear is where most people collapse, not because fear is powerful, but because they are untrained. Fear is just a signal, your body preparing you for action. But instead of moving forward, you freeze, you hesitate, you retreat, and every time you do that, your brain learns something dangerous. And great stake, backing off keeps me safe. So next time, the fear gets stronger, the hesitation gets faster, the excuses get smarter, until one day you don't even try anymore. You just watch. Watch other people win. Watch opportunities pass. Watch your potential rot in real time. And you tell yourself a story to cope. It's not the right time. I need to figure things out first. I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow is where weak identities hide. High value people operate in now, not later, not someday, now. They don't wait for clarity. They create clarity through action. They don't wait to feel confident. They build confidence through execution. They don't wait for the perfect plan. They move and adjust because they understand something you've been avoiding. Action creates identity, not the other way around. You don't become confident and then act. You act and confidence follows. You don't become disciplined and then work. You work and discipline forms. This is the law most people break. They want to feel ready before they start. High value people start before they feel ready. That's the separation. That's the edge. That's why they rise while others stay stuck. And this is where your transformation becomes real. Not when you feel inspired, but when you move while feeling resistance. Because resistance is the signal. It's the exact point where your old identity is fighting for survival. Every time you push through it, you weaken the old version of you. Every time you obey it, you strengthen it. So the question isn't do you feel like it? The real question is, which version of you wins today? The weak one or the one you keep talking about becoming? Because both exist right now, and every decision you make feeds one of them. You don't need more information. You need more execution. You don't need another video. You need action, controlled, focused, relentless, because high value thinking is built under pressure, not comfort. Comfort creates consumers. Pressure creates leaders. And if your life feels stagnant right now, it's because you've been living in comfort too long. Your brain has adapted to easy rewards, quick dopamine, scrolling, entertainment, validation. And now, real work feels painful. Focus feels impossible. Discipline feels unnatural. That's not your personality, that's conditioning. And it can be reversed, but only one way. You have to starve the distractions and feed the discipline. No balance, no moderation, at least not in the beginning, because you're not trying to maintain, you're trying to transform. And transformation is aggressive. It requires friction, it requires discomfort, it requires you to say no to the version of you that keeps choosing easy. This is where most people quit because they underestimate how uncomfortable growth feels. They think something is wrong, they think they're not built for it. But what they're actually feeling is withdrawal. Withdrawal from distraction. Withdrawal from comfort. Withdrawal from the identity they've been addicted to. And addiction fights back. It whispers, it's too much. Take a break. You deserve it. But high value people recognize that voice and they don't trust it because they know that voice is the reason they were stuck in the first place. Good, because now it gets uncomfortable in a different way. Not loud discomfort, silent. The kind where nobody is watching, and you still have to choose who you are. This is where most people lose. Not in public, in private, because in public you can perform. In private, you reveal your truth. What you do when nobody is watching. That's your real identity, not your goals, not your plans, your patterns. And your patterns right now, they're predictable. You start strong, then fade. You get inspired, then distracted. You promise change, then negotiate with yourself the moment it gets hard. That's not lack of discipline. That's lack of identity alignment. Because your brain always pulls you back to what feels familiar. Not what's right, not what's powerful, what's familiar. So even if you want to level up, you keep snapping back to the same habits, same mindset, same results. That's not coincidence, that's wiring. And here's the shift that changes everything. High value people don't rely on motivation. They build systems that make failure difficult, not impossible, difficult. Because if your environment keeps allowing you to be weak, you will be. Remove the option and suddenly you're stronger. This is where discipline becomes mechanical, not emotional. You don't feel like working. You've removed everything else to do. You don't try to focus there's nothing pulling your attention away. You don't hope to improve. You force progress through structure. This is how dominance begins, not with hype, with control. Control of environment, control of time, control of inputs, because your brain is always reacting to what you feed it. And right now, most people are feeding themselves poison, endless scrolling, short form dopamine hits, noise, comparison, and then they wonder why they can't focus for more than 5 minutes. You've trained your brain to expect reward without effort, so when real effort shows up, it feels wrong, heavy, unnatural, but that's the illusion. Effort is the default state of growth. Discomfort is the price of expansion. And high value people pay it daily without complaining, without announcing it, without needing applause, because they understand something deeper. Every time you delay gratification, you increase your internal power. Every time you chase instant pleasure, you decrease it. That's the trade most people don't see. They think they're just relaxing. They're actually weakening, slowly, silently, consistently, until discipline feels impossible. And then they label themselves. I'm just not consistent. I lack focus. I can't stick to things. No, you've just been practicing the wrong behaviors long enough that they feel like personality. But personality is built, not fixed, which means it can be rebuilt, but not by thinking, by doing. This is where your new standard begins. Not tomorrow.
Not Monday, now. You create a rule, simple, non-negotiable. When I say I'll do something, I do it. No emotional debate, no internal negotiation, no, I'll do it later. If it's time, it's done. At first it will feel forced, good. That means it's working, because you're breaking a pattern, and breaking patterns feels like resistance, but push through it enough times. And something shifts. You stop arguing with yourself, you stop hesitating, you move faster, cleaner, more direct, and that's when confidence starts building. Not fake confidence, not loud confidence, quiet, unshakable. Because now you trust yourself, and self-trust is the foundation of power. Without it, you'll always second-guess, always hesitate, always look for validation. With it, you become decisive, grounded, dangerous in execution. And people feel that. They might not understand it, but they feel it. In your presence, in your voice, in the way you carry yourself. Because high-value people don't chase respect. They operate in a way that demands it, without asking, without forcing, just by how they show up. This is where body language becomes a weapon, not exaggerated, not performative, controlled. Still, intentional. You don't fidget, you don't shrink, you don't avoid eye contact like you're hiding something. You hold your space because you've earned it, and that starts internally. If your mind is chaotic, your body will reflect it. If your thoughts are scattered, your presence will feel weak. So you train stillness, sit without reaching for your phone, stand without shifting every second. Hold eye contact 1 second longer than feels comfortable. Speak slower than your anxiety wants. This is dominance, not aggression, control, and control is rare, which makes it valuable. But this level of control doesn't come from motivation, it comes from exposure. You put yourself in situations where your old habits used to take over, and you override them, again and again and again, until your new response becomes automatic. That's how rewiring works, not overnight, but permanently. And as this builds, something else starts to fade. Fear, not completely, but its control over you. Because fear only dominates when you avoid it, face it consistently, and it shrinks, ignore it, and it grows. High-value people don't eliminate fear, they out-train it. They move while it's present. They act while their heart is racing. They speak when their voice wants to shake, because they've learned courage is not the absence of fear, it's action in spite of it. And every time you act despite fear, you upgrade your identity. You become someone who moves forward, not someone who hesitates. That shift alone changes everything. Your opportunities expand, your confidence rises, your standards increase, and suddenly, the life you thought was out of reach starts getting closer. Not because it got easier, because you got stronger. But strength brings a new problem. expectation. Once you see what you're capable of, you can't go back. Comfort feels empty, distraction feels cheap, wasted time feels painful, and that's a good sign. It means your standards are rising, and high-value people protect their standards aggressively. They don't tolerate behavior from themselves that contradicts their identity. They correct it immediately. No excuses, no delay, because small lapses become big patterns, and big patterns create average lives. So you stay sharp, you stay aware, you stay disciplined, even when nobody is watching, especially when nobody is watching, because that's where your future is decided. Not in big moments, in small, repeated decisions, daily, relentless, unseen. And if you stay consistent long enough, there comes a moment where everything clicks, not perfectly, but clearly. You think faster, you act quicker, you doubt less, you hesitate less, you become efficient. And efficiency creates results. Real results, visible results. The kind that changes how people treat you, the kind that shifts your environment, the kind that proves you're not the same person anymore. And that's when it hits you. You were never stuck. You were just undisciplined. You were never unlucky. You were just unfocused. You were never incapable. You were just distracted. And now? Now you're different. Not because you said so, because you proved it. Through action, through consistency, through control. And that's what high-value thinking really is. Not theory, not knowledge. Execution. Relentless execution. If this hit you, even a little, then don't just sit there and feel motivated. That's the old you, the one who listens, feels something, and does nothing. Kill that pattern right now. Close the gap between hearing and doing. Take one action immediately after this. One, something uncomfortable, something you've been delaying, and do it without thinking. That's your first step into a different identity. And if you're serious about becoming someone people respect, trust, and can't ignore, then stay with this, because what's coming next goes deeper, much deeper.